Our next speaker is President Bill Imandt, Court Officers Benevolent Association of Nassau County. So you get to be introduced twice.
Thank you, Senator. It is hot up here, isn't it? You can see it waving.
You turned it down. It kind of goes back and forth.
Yeah, right. But if you go the other way, we freeze to death.
Okay, it's like the courts.
Yeah, you know,
The
it's
court
up there and
buildings.
it's warm.
I want to thank you, distinguished members of the Senate and the Assembly. I am one of the 4 unions that was just alluded to that do not have a contract 6 years strong. April 1st will begin our 7th year, actually going from 6 to 7 years. I sat before your committee at the hearing on public protection approximately 1 year ago today and gave you a report on my take as the union president of COBANC, the Court Officers Benevolent Association of Nassau County, about the state of New York State courts, downstate, and Nassau County in particular. I told you that 2011 was probably the worst year of my 33-year career as president, court clerk, court employee, and as a citizen of New York State. Why? Well, because 2011, something happened in the judiciary that we in the court system and the citizens of New York may never recover from. That year, we suffered layoffs in Nassau County and statewide of approximately 20% of our workforce. It was the same year we were offered 0% compensation during contract negotiations, the first of 3 consecutive zeros. The seed was also planted to raise the judges' salaries, which came to fruition only last year. The new discretionary programs were started up, carving out a tremendous portion of our budget, and those monies were never replaced, and neither was the personnel. We are one of the 3 equal branches of government, and we are being treated like an experimental startup program. Last year, you graciously increased the court budget by 2.4%, and that was supposed to go towards bringing back some of the 2,000 workers that were laid off back and towards decent, at least near cost of living increases to the middle-class court employees. And I'd like you to know how it turned out a year later. Of the approximate 155 employees in Nassau County that were laid off, again 20% of the Nassau workforce, we are actually down from last year. Oh, there's been some hiring with retirements, transfers, and promotions in other counties, but subtract 2 more employees that were down from the 20% that we were down from last year. 6 years of getting the job done with 20% less people. My members are understaffed, tired, overworked, unappreciated, and woefully underpaid. Again, morale is way down. Sickness and absenteeism are up, and disciplines are way up, over 200% since just 2 years ago. This heartless game that goes on between the Office of Court Administration, the legislature, and the governor has got to stop. The governor mandates a 2% increase cap on state agencies and doesn't even give that to the judiciary. Again, the third branch of our government, we averaged 1.3% during those 5 years since that edict. If we got that 0.7% each year, we'd have enough to fund the courts now, but we would average out to be 1.3%. As the court administration is fully aware, we need at least 5% increase this year to properly serve the citizens of New York. But the Office of Court Administration is afraid to ask the legislator, who appears to be afraid to push back on the governor, and the court workers and the citizens of New York are the ones that suffer. I know most of you are practicing attorneys, and many of you have come to tell me the horror stories about the once proud New York court system. 5 years for a misdemeanor jury trial where the maximum penalty for a guilty verdict is 1 year. 8-year-old foreclosure cases that have cost Long Island over $300 million in lost property values. Matrimonial cases taking over 300% longer to conclude with the backlogs due to understaffing. And the accused taking longer to be arraigned, and all civil cases taking that much longer. We're better than that. We have to be. With billions that the governor is throwing around on all these new projects, there's no excuse not to be. Take care of your foundation before you put on an extension. The judiciary foundation is crumbling. And my last paragraph, I promise you it won't take much longer, is the citizens of New York deserve better than what they are receiving for their tax dollar. You can tell us you can only give the court administration what they ask for. Well, then we need to have you have meaningful conversations with the Office of Court Administration to find out what they really need to operate properly, effectively, and efficiently. Again, my numbers say it's 5%. Then together we all need to tell the governor in no uncertain terms, this is not a request, this is our mandate. A mandate to the citizens of New York State, the New York legislature and the Office of Court Administration, and all the court workers that I represent. I'm sorry for being upset about this, but it's 6 years. But I will take questions. I appreciate if you have any, because I got answers.
I think, obviously, we're sympathetic, and we appreciate your passion for your members, and it sounds like they're dealing with very difficult situations, and would really like to see it resolved, because they deserve to be treated in a fair way. There's no question.
Well, yes, Senator. Thank you. I appreciate that. But we need to have meaningful contract negotiations, too, and that's not happening. The bargaining is stonewall for the last 2 years. So you give them more money, and it never filters back to the court workers. So I appreciate it. Senator Savino and all of you up there, please hold their feet to the fire. What are you doing with the money? Where is it going? Senator Savino asked about, is there a reserve for retroactive pay? I've calculated Nassau County is close to $6 million in retroactive pay. The court clerks are about $11 million, and so is Pat Cullen. This is all back money that's going to be due someday, and they're not preparing for it. Apparently, I'm told they can't carry from one budget to the next. If that's true, then when you get to no contracts at the end of the fiscal year, they put it on furniture, computers. They do some hiring, yes, but with attrition and retirements and things like that, the numbers aren't going up. NASA's numbers have gone down. Please help us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.